Welcome to the Brand Intelligence Podcast, the show where we pull back the curtain on some of the world's smartest brands. I'm your co-host, William Tyree, and today we'll look at how Priceline Pharmacy executed an award-winning brand update after more than 40 years in the market. Joining me is the company's Senior Manager of Brand, Sophie Harris. Sophie, welcome to Brand Intelligence.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Congrats on your Brandy Award. I really love the work.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, very rewarding. And we're really pleased with how it's out in market now. Yeah, we're approaching a year since that rebrand. So yeah, we're really pleased.
Awesome. We'll get into that a little bit, but first, we like to kick things off with all of our guests with a theme song. So if you were walking out to give a keynote speech about brand transformation, what would be your theme song and why?
This is a really hard one, right? It's a classic question and such a subjective one. Music's so personal. But then if we think about the topic that we're talking about today, which is health is so personal as well, right? So what makes one person feel great might be completely different for another. So I was thinking about this one, and I'd probably say, not just because they're one of my favorite bands, but A Sky Full of Stars by Coldplay. A song about light, optimism, finding joy. And for me, that really captured what Priceline Pharmacy is trying to do, helping customers feel great, see the light in themselves. And yeah, the world can be pretty dark. So hopefully Priceline Pharmacy is the solve to some of those problems.
Cause you're a sky full of stars. I'm gonna give you my heart.
That is a great pick in my book. I love Coldplay, and you're not alone. I think you're the third guest maybe to cite it. No, to cite a Coldplay song,
okay.
But nobody cited that song.
Oh, good. To be original. An interesting fact, I actually saw this band for my birthday on the day Priceline Pharmacy rebrand went to market in Melbourne. So it was really nice. I had a big double birthday with the Priceline Pharmacy rebrand and Coldplay live in concert. Yeah.
That is incredible. I love it. All right, let's get into it. Obviously, Priceline Pharmacy is a really big name, but not everybody lives in Australia. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Priceline Pharmacy, the household name where you are, a little bit about the heritage?
Sure. I think you've touched on one of the key things, which is it's a 40-year-old brand in Australia and one of the most recognizable retailers on the high street in shopping centres. The rebrand that we'll talk to today was really sparked by that heritage kind of tension, I would say, and the rapidly evolving health and beauty landscape that Priceline Pharmacy sits in, delivering scripts, but also having beauty and wellness offerings in their store as well. Also, really key to mention is Priceline Pharmacy is a franchise model, which brings with it its own complexities when delivering a rebrand, which we can touch on later in this session. But I suppose despite the strong heritage and brand awareness that the brand had of that 40 years, the brand consideration scores had softened. It doesn't matter how much heritage you have, relevancy and remaining relevant to our customers is crucial. And we could really see that that was starting to maybe be disconnected from the customer of tomorrow. So yes, we have an incredibly strong brand heritage, but what was really key for us was how we take that into the next chapter. And most Australians can recall iconic pink instantly. You walk down the street, you see that brand recall, and that's a Priceline Pharmacy. So yeah, that was really key for us in the rebrand, that we wanted to remain and evolve the brand, but taking on board how the world around us was dramatically changing in this setting. We're operating in a space that has seen huge growth and evolution in it, the increase in demand for health and wellness products, and the aging population, and more people, I would say, since COVID, and I can't believe I'm still mentioning that horrendous pandemic, but the franchise partners, our pharmacists, are more empowered than ever before for customers to turn to their pharmacist because they can't get into their GP. And I don't know what that's like around the rest of the world, but long gone are the days where you might have your family GP. You're just lucky enough to get in a GP appointment. And so our pharmacists in our stores are almost that kind of consistent person that our customers speak to and see. And so that was really important about how we could differentiate ourselves in the market and really stand for providing that consistent care. From a brand perspective, the brand remained largely flat over the past 6 years prior to the rebrand. And after more than a decade without revisiting the brand and its brand codes, as a business, we really saw an opportunity to shift and move forward and take what Australians loved about Priceline Pharmacy and make sure it was still relevant and in their customer mindset. So it wasn't about starting over with the brand. It was really about evolving it with purpose, modernizing our assets, reignite that emotional connection, and show that Priceline Pharmacy was in the consideration set. So yeah, the summary of that question, I would say, is heritage isn't enough.
That's great. I love that. You also addressed the tone of voice a little bit.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how that played into it and how you arrived at that decision?
In terms of addressing the tone of voice and how we show up,
Yeah.
the tone of voice came from the brand strategy, which is at the heart of health and beauty. And so a natural progression of that was we wanted to be clever hearted. So it was really about balancing the credibility that our pharmacists have. They train just as hard as GPs and they have such credibility. And so we also wanted to bring in the friendliness and approachability and the warmth that our brand strategy stood
Mhm.
for as the heart. And so clever hearted is this really nice tone that has a play on words. And we have actually a messaging matrix to ensure that when something is more serious than others, whether it's health messaging, beauty messaging, that our clever hearted tone can dial up the right words where we need to.
That's really great. I love that you do that because I feel like a lot of healthcare brands are just monotone and the voice is so uninspiring across, like, regardless of where it is. And so that's really amazing that you've built in those levers to shift up and shift down. Is that something you innovated in house, or was that something that you had a past experience where you brought that in?
Tone of voice is something I've worked with for a long time. First
Yeah.
client, I've worked with a
Right.
lot of brands, and tone of voice has always been such an important asset. You look at brands like Oatly, who have a really great tone of voice, and some brands lend themselves more to it being more of a brand code than others, right? Like in a setting which is highly governed and strict as health, there's only so much you can do with your tone of voice. So I wouldn't say it's one of our strongest distinctive assets, but having a consistent framework that our team can work to so that we show up consistently in how our messaging comes across is really important. Regardless of how distinctive it is, we know what it should and shouldn't sound like. In terms of the process, it came after the brand strategy and it was working in parallel with the visual identity. So, working across the business, whether it be from our campaigns team, whether it's our operational team that liaise with our franchise network, or whether it's our customer service team, how we speak to all those different stakeholders and all those different audiences had to be considered. And so we provided them with a tone of voice guide that addressed the different stakeholders and how that kind of dial and those tone of voice principles would dial up depending on the audience that you spoke to.
That's great. So the brand promise is the heart of health and beauty. What were some of the conversations like internally as different ideas were batted around, and where did that inspiration come from?
The heart of health and beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah, we first of all obviously looked at all the knowledge harvest, like looking at why do people join the franchise in the first place, Priceline Pharmacy.
Yeah.
There's other franchise models. That's really important to us. Hearing what our customers are saying is critical. And we have a sister club loyalty program with over 9 million members. So we have a great data bank there of insight from what we hear from our franchise partners at the end of the day and our voice of the customer. And when we looked at what Australians loved about the Priceline Pharmacy brand, it was our people. It was the warmth,
Yeah.
the care, and the genuine connection that they felt in our stores versus the competitor set. And it was our people. And we realized that's what sets us apart in this rare combination of pharmacy expertise and health and beauty experience. Some of our competitors in the market maybe don't have such a beauty lens and it's all health. That specific balance that we have of health and beauty of equal weighting really set us apart. And we deliver it with the heart. So the promise of the heart of health and beauty really captures that perfectly for us. It signals a brand that's not just clinical or transactional, but it's human and holistic. And our customer value proposition, that is the customer facing version of that commitment, is keeping you feeling great. And that brings to life that total well being and not just looking good, but feeling good as well. So the thinking extends to everything we do. And a great example is we've just launched in the last month our new Anything Menopause program, which helps women feel informed and supported and empowered through every stage of life. And I just think that it's a beautiful expression of our promise in action, that hopefully we're that light that can provide knowledge to our customers to help them through what they're dealing with in their health and well-being journey.
That's a great example, by the way, I think, of a subject that hasn't had its fair share of conversation, I think, at least in Western civilization. And so that's great that you're able to weave it into that program.
I just wanted to touch on heart one last time, actually, because I think when I first thought heart, I was like, oh, heart, love. That traditional
Yeah.
semiotic of love is a heart. And
Yeah.
so for me, I like to always just unpack it a little bit more. Like it is, when you think about the heart in the body, it's that central organ, right? Destination in your body. And the heart of the communities is what we serve. And when you think about it in that way, we want it to be that central location. And our store team members are at the crux of what makes that purposeful.
That is incredible. How did you go about modernizing some of the assets, like the colors, palettes, things like that?
Yeah, earlier I touched on the fact that Priceline Pharmacy is iconic, and it's one of the strongest codes it has is it's pink. You walk down the street and you see the pink. I think you ask anyone in Australia, Priceline Pharmacy and the brand recall is pink before anything. And so the balance for us was absolutely critical. We wanted to evolve, not erase any of that, but our distinctive pink and green have always been part of our DNA. So we refreshed it rather than replace them. And the pink became bolder. The green became more purposeful in our execution. The green being our health and the pink being our beauty, and really being intentional with how we use that, but also making sure that those two new colors were modern, digital first was really important for us. And then our new logo used to be a heart in two hands, quite a fussy kind of complex logo, and really wanted to strip that back and be a lot simpler. And thinking about the catalyst of all of this, the heart of health and beauty, the heart is really central. So creating two hearts of pink and green, pulling them together to form this cross was a real nod to our pharmacy heritage and a modern expression of the care and connection, and symbolizing putting that health back into the category. The rebrand also responded directly to feedback that we'd heard about the importance of dialing up and protecting our health credentials. So the role of green and bringing in a secondary color palette of other green tones was really able to allow our team that execute health messaging more flexibility in how they showed up. Yeah.
Great. So you mentioned your communities. Do I have it right that you've got about 470 stores out in the
I
world?
tried to fact check this before the call.
Okay, cool. So let's just say you've got like well over 400 stores out in the world. That's amazing. So I find that when I talk to marketing leaders, like the actual rollout is usually one of the ones where there's the biggest opportunities, but the biggest risks. What did that look like in rolling this out to all the franchisees out there?
Yeah, I think I said earlier, I've worked agency side and I've worked on rebrand projects before, and you often hand them over and you don't
Yeah.
see the executional side and what goes into it and the logistics. So this was really insightful for me. And I've worked in branding for 15 years, but this was really the first franchise rebrand I've led. And it really brought a new level of complexity and responsibility. If you think about it, our
Mhm.
franchise partners, it isn't just a color change, it isn't just an asset change, a strategy change, it's their livelihood. It's their storefront and it's their reputation in their community. And so that was really important for us as a business, that they felt like they were consulted and brought on the journey with us. And what mattered most was ensuring that it resonated with them and that they could see themselves in this rebrand. So we engaged them early once we felt really strong with our strategy and the new visual identity. We shared it with a cohort of our franchise partners and we listened deeply to them, actually incorporated some really key feedback that we hadn't considered, but from their expertise on the ground was really relevant. And that was this synonymous kind of cross symbol that indicates pharmacy. And for us,
Right.
we brought our two hearts together to form this implicit kind of cross. So the heart of health and beauty, and our logo is made up of a pink and a green heart that comes together, which forms this really nice cross. But that cross is quite implicit. It's not obvious. It's almost like a hidden find. And
Yeah.
what was felt was that we'd actually diluted maybe some of that cross and that signal of the health expertise. So we brought in an actual additional asset, a signifier of cross that is actually used in a really great way now when we're talking to health communications, health messaging, and on our store facades as well. It's this beautiful cross on a white round background that really from a distance is synonymous with pharmacy. And you see that there's your trusted advice from Priceline. So yeah, listening to them was really important. We know brand, we know marketing, but they know their field and they know their expertise. And when we finally launched it to them, the whole network was at our
Mhm.
national conference, and there was a real sense of ownership and pride in that room. And it felt like something that was done with them, not for them. And that was really rewarding for me personally and professionally. And I know it was for the rest of the team in that room on that day. So obviously that was just one part of it, on onboarding and ensuring that our franchise partners felt like they were on the journey. But then the whole execution of it across the network, from uniforms, store design, signage, comms, the way in which we communicated out to the media. Yeah, but we actually initiated some brand champions within the business. Simple things like a Teams channel for brand champions from different divisions of the business, from ops, customer service, merch, marketing, e-com, loyalty, so that we had brand champions from each of those areas with myself and the brand manager and my team to answer any questions, to help execute the brand consistently. If they felt they didn't have the tools, they could come to us. And it was just really a chance for us all to ensure that it wasn't just brand's role now. Yes, we've come up with the strategy and the visual identity, but brand should be embedded in all of us, and we all have a responsibility to deliver the brand. So that made it a lot easier once you then share the load.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that you had the brand champions program because achieving consistency with something like that as quickly as you can is always tough. And especially when you're talking about something where you actually have physical retail stores, like you talked about. So it sounds like even what the employees were wearing was impacted.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things was the website, and actually having the
Oh,
website flip over at the right time on the right day, the 30th of
yeah.
October, and
Yeah.
that switch happened was really important. And I know there was a lot of testing that went on behind the scenes that I'm really grateful for the team for.
Yeah. I've been a part of a few of those. And man, that is always nerve wracking for sure. So when you think about how you look back at it, sounds like you've gotten a lot of amazing qualitative feedback. Were there other key performance indicators that you looked at as well to like measure how well it went
Since the rebrand,
since the rebrand?
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, we're approaching 1 year in market now since the rebrand, which feels like the right time to reflect. And the metrics are really positive. We've seen lifts in brand consideration, engagement, and franchise sentiment. We're being approached and franchise partners wanting to join the network, which is great.
Yeah.
But I think what's most encouraging is that the numbers tell the same story that we're hearing anecdotally, that the brand feels more relevant, confident, and cohesive. And that's the real sign for me that a rebrand is landing, when the data and the emotion are aligned. We're
Yeah.
receiving great feedback from our franchise network that the way in which we're showing up through our marketing feels more modern and relevant and is really cutting through amongst the retail noise. And we're about to enter one of the busiest times of the year again, being Christmas. And I'm really excited to see how our NPS and consideration and sales performance can be compared to last year.
Yeah, amazing. I'm glad you mentioned Christmas because I did want to ask you, that was your rollout time last year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what went into choosing that as the launch date?
Just trying to be as savvy as possible with spend. We all know
Mm,
spend and marketing spend, and how you do that and choose that is really important. And Christmas is one of the noisiest moments in retail, but for us, it was the perfect stage. It's when we have the most assets in market, from catalog, TV,
mm,
digital. It's where we spend the most in our marketing budget.
yep.
So it allowed us to make a confident statement at that time of year. And of course, logistical challenges, aligning hundreds of stores, refresh brand assets, but we turned that scale into a strength by launching during peak. We reached millions of Australians at once, showing up in a bold, new, and exciting way for Christmas at a really engaging time. And hopefully sent a clear signal that Priceline Pharmacy is evolving and we're here to help you feel great this Christmas. So keeping our customers feeling great is our CVP, and a Christmas campaign version of that was feel great this Christmas and every day after. Yeah. So that was the reason.
That's great. I think that speaks volumes to how much confidence you must have had in what you were doing because you're right. It's like the smartest time for a business like that to launch. At the same time, it's also the biggest risk. So I think that's really amazing that you did it then and you took the risk and it paid off.
Thank you.
Cool. Like stepping back from that, one question that we've been asking all of our guests this year is just generative AI. Things are changing so fast and there's so many tools, everything from visual design to copy to like data analysis and things like that. How is generative AI kind of impacting your marketing team right now? And then how is your team like adapting?
Yeah. I laugh because it's the question everyone's talking about at the moment, right? And the answer I give today is probably not the answer that I'm going to give tomorrow because it's changing daily. And keeping up with it, I think, is the biggest challenge. Marketing operations now falls under my remit. This is a really important topic about how we work efficiently and effectively in our team. So AI and our business is genuinely welcoming of AI from the top down. We're being asked to lean in. But I always say, and I've said this for a while now, that provoking strategy can never or not yet be replaced by AI. Thinking, the provocation, the ability to connect the human insight to the brand storytelling, find that sweet spot of why we're the heart and listening to our customers, and all of that gives you a feeling as a brand strategist on what feels right. And AI doesn't have feeling. And so that's still ours to do. Yes, it can help refine it, but that real pinpoint, that real kind of intuition of what your brand could stand for, that needs to be a human touch. So where I am keen to do more in this space with my team is when it comes to execution. It would be silly not to embrace the efficiencies and things like asset rollout, templated creative, adapting content once the creative direction is set. The tone of voice we spoke about earlier, we can plug all that into a locked ChatGPT, uploading the tone of voice principles, training that to be our tone of voice guide. It's not coming up with the principles. We've done that ourselves. We know what feels right. Putting the key messages in there for it to come back out with us is a really efficient way to do that. We still always have a human lens over the top of it to make sure it sounds right, but it just helps our team work smarter. It allows them to get out of kind of the day-to-day doers and actually think more strategically. So AI can absolutely help us move faster and smarter. Yeah, so our approach is that it's a tool, not a crutch, and keeping that craft firmly in the human.
Awesome. Have fun with marketing operations.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us. Is there anything exciting coming up for Priceline Pharmacy that you'd like to touch on before we leave?
Obviously Christmas, and that Priceline Pharmacy has some great gifting solutions out there for anyone in Australia listening, but also our Anything Menopause program, and our pharmacists have all gone through training, which is really exciting to empower them to be able to help our team on the ground and our customers who are coming into the stores. And yeah, just our health services is going to expand further, and we're just really excited about the next chapter of Priceline Pharmacy.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So that's it for today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in to the Brand Intelligence Podcast. Please help us out by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. To listen to more episodes and to learn more about Intelligence Bank, visit us at intelligencebank.com.